Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.
Hey everyone, I'm Yvette Lloyd, host of Life Her Podcast. Today we have a privilege to speak with Charles Reed, a highly accomplished certified public accountant, U.S. Tax Corp practitioner, and he also is a member of the International Revenue Service, the IRS Advisory Council. Charles is the founder of the Get Payroll, and also a company that has a providing full service payroll and tax solutions to the businesses since 1991. With over 50 years of financial leadership experiences across the various industries, Charles is also an accomplished author of 4 books, including his latest, The Payroll Book, a guide for small businesses and startups. He is here and share his wealth and knowledge on payroll, avoiding IRS penalties, the importance of timekeeping, and more. Please join us. And hello, Charles. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. I'm happy to have you. Can you share a bit about your journey in payroll and into the payroll service on how you became an expert in this field?
Sure. I'm a Midwestern boy. I grew up in Iowa, graduated from high school at 16, went in the United States Marine Corps at 17, spent 4 years in service, 2 years overseas, including a combat tour in Vietnam. Came back, was stationed in Kansas City, met and married my wife. She was 10 years older than I was and had 5 children when I married her. I claim insanity, but we were married for 45 years before she passed. I found that business after I
Sorry
got
to hear
out, thank you. After I got out, I found business did not value my military experience. I was an experienced computer programmer, systems engineer at that point in time. So I went to college, got my BBA, my MBA, sat for and passed my CPA exam while still in graduate school. Went to work for Texas Instruments, spent 15 years in the corporate world, realized I was never going to get to the top of a corporation, major corporation. I didn't have the political skills, and if I was going to run a business, I'd have to start my own. So in 91, Ruth and I, my wife, started our own business. Basically, I hung out my shingle as a CPA and did payroll as a sideline, and it was a good selling tool. And we continued to grow the business for many years. About a dozen years ago, I sold off the accounting practice to my partner that I'd taken on and kept the payroll portion of the business, which we continue to grow to this day.
Wow, that is amazing. So, what inspired you to write the payroll book and focuses on helping small businesses and startups?
Well, I get questions all the time from clients and from strangers and from people at the poker table and whatever. And there was nothing out there that I could send them to say, this is where to get your questions answered. So I said, yeah, I'll write something. I've written a few other books. And so I sat down to write the payroll book. It took 2 years. I call it 95,000. I call it 30 years of wisdom distilled down to 95,000 words. I used a mainstream
Wow.
publisher for this one. I used Wiley and Sons, which made it a much better book than it would have been otherwise. So it's really designed to educate small businesses and startups about payroll.
Yes. Charles, I love this interview and I love having this conversation with you because I'm a small business owner myself and I had a lot of experiences when it comes to payroll, and over the years of me seeing different small businesses and how they actually pay their staff and not knowing the ins and outs of payroll as far as paying your federal, your taxes, your state, your city taxes, just doing a whole breakdown. What are some of the ways where people could become a lot more knowledgeable with it, with being a small business owner, and how important it is to have payroll and not utilize Cash App?
Well, as you say, it's a matter of they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And so you have to know the rules. My book is a real good way to get a hold of those. Publication 15 from the IRS, Circular E, it's the same thing, from the IRS handles most of the technical tax issues, but not a lot of other things that have to do with payroll. And each state has something similar about those. So in most cases, you have three entities that you pay taxes to, you deposit for: the Internal Revenue Service, the State Revenue Department, and the State Unemployment Department. Some states it's combined, most states it's not. And then in some states you have local, and in odd places like Philadelphia, the schools tax income and have an income tax that you have to pay. Uh, Denver, Indianapolis, all of Pennsylvania has local taxes. And you have to be aware of those. So does Ohio. So you have to be aware of those. And if you're not, that's the first thing. You've got to know all these things. You've got to know what you have to withhold, when you have to deposit it, what you have to file, and when you have to file it. That, along with arithmetic accuracy, eliminates most of the penalties.
Mm, that is true. Um, one of the things when it comes to payroll taxes, they have the quarterly on how you pay them out. And me personally, from me experiencing and having a big center, I had come to the solution that it was better for me to pay it weekly than every 3 months, because seeing that lump sum, Charles, was a lot.
Absolutely. And yeah, sometimes you can pay it less often, but there's nothing, it doesn't hurt to pay it as you do the payroll. Just write the check for it. I tell my clients, if you can't pay the payroll taxes, don't pay the payroll. It's You'd rather have your employees coming after you than you would the IRS, because the IRS neither forgives nor forgets. And some IRS deposits, if you don't make them, they're not dischargeable in bankruptcy court. And some of them actually may cause you to end up in prison for federal tax fraud. So you've got to be real careful. Uh, the IRS, particularly uh, under some administrations as opposed to others, can get really, really nasty. Uh, but under any administration, it's a very hard character to deal with effectively, particularly if you're not familiar with how to deal with the IRS. This is what we do for a living. I take a 2848, a limited power of attorney, on every client, which allows me as a CPA to advocate for my clients. And then I'm one of 270 U.S. tax court practitioners in the country, which allows me to practice in U.S. tax court without being an attorney. I actually have a bar card from the U.S. tax court, and I
Wow.
can represent clients in tax court when necessary. And I think I'm the only payroll company in the country that's able to do that.
Wow. That is amazing. That's great, honestly. So, what are the top mistakes small business owners make when managing payroll, and how can they avoid them?
Well, one of the big things, and 75%, 80% of all businesses do this, is they misclassify either employees versus independent contractors or hourly versus salary. These are not choices. Somebody can't come to you and say, "Oh, just pay me as an independent contractor on a 1099." That's not their choice. That's not your choice. Now, It's possible under very unique circumstances to structure a contract to make it work that way. But normally it's a matter of law. There's a whole body of law which changes that defines who's an independent contractor and who's not. When Trump first came into office 8 years ago, he proposed a new rule. His Labor Department had put together a new rule about independent contractors over the course of the term, and it was about to go into effect just after the Biden administration took over. The Biden administration canceled it, and then here last fall issued their own, which I expect the Trump administration to cancel and reissue a different one. So it's a lot of law, but it's law that changes. And unless you keep up with this, as we do, you won't know.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big ones is classification of independent contractors versus employees. A lot of small businesses, particularly, just want to pay cash or write a check or use Cash App, and that can get you into real problems, because if you misclassify and get caught, all those taxes have to be paid. And even if you paid out the cash to a independent contractor who gets determined to be an employee, well, now you owe all those taxes anyway, and you're never going to get them back from the guy you paid them to. So it could be real trouble. The next thing is we spoke of knowing what to do, what to withhold, when to pay it, what to file, when to file it. And as I mentioned, the biggest source of penalties is arithmetical errors. You don't add, subtract, or multiply right. So use a computer. Don't do it by hand.
Yeah, that's true. What should a business owner do immediately after receiving an IRS notice?
Well, calm down, sit down, take a deep breath. They're not going to come get you in the morning, okay? It's a slow process once they get into it. In many cases, it can take months. I've had cases run years. So always answer IRS correspondence. If you don't owe the tax or don't owe the penalty, tell them why and send them what proof you have of why you shouldn't be penalized or why you don't owe taxes. If you owe the taxes, best thing to do is just pay it. Borrow it from the bank if you have to, and just pay it and be done with it and move on. But if the penalty is incorrect, the first letter you write, they will not abate the penalty on the first letter. You'll get a form letter back going, no. Dealing with the IRS on incorrect penalties is a whole series of no's followed by a single yes. So you appeal, and it may take years to do this. Now, frankly, if it's $10, $20, just pay it. It's not worth arguing about. Discretion is the better part of valor. Just pay it and move on. I've done it in the past for clients, and 18 months later, they get the $20 back because the IRS finally figured out they made a mistake. It's happened, not normally. So be logical about this. Don't get on your high horse and say, no, I don't owe that penalty and I'm not going to pay it. I don't care if it's $3. I'm not going to pay it. It's not worth writing a letter for $3.
Wow.
For clients, there have been more than one occasion where I've gotten a client that just gets all upset and I just pay the penalty for him because it's not worth arguing about. It's not worth my time to write the letters. So, and he's not going to pay me, thousands of dollars of my time to fight a $3 penalty. He's not going to be happy about that either. So, but once it gets to the $100 range, it starts being worthwhile to fight things. So.
Wow. So can you explain the significance of the 45S tax credit on how businesses can leverage it?
Absolutely. If you're not subject to the Family Care Act, where you have to provide time off for people because you have more than 50 full-time employees. If you're not subject to that, but you provide time off for those purposes, which means illness, family illness, illness of a child, certain other things. If you provide time off, sick days, paid time off for those purposes, you can get a tax credit for up to 25% of that payment. So if Sally says, my child's sick, I need to take the day off, and you pay Sally for that day and you pay her $100, you can get a $25 credit against your taxes. Now,
Oh,
she's got to make under $70,000 a year, and she's got to be full time. She's got to work more than a year. So there's some details, but for the most part, you can just get a 25% credit for paying for sick time. So if you do that, if you pay for sick time, and most of us do, most of us, don't say, well, if you're not here, you're not going to get paid. I don't care if the kid's sick or you're sick or whatever. Most of us do some sort of paid time off. And if it falls within those purposes for the Family Medical Leave Act, then you can get a tax credit, even though you're not required to pay it. If you do pay it, you can get a tax credit. And that's what Congress has said. We're not going to require you, but we're going to incentivize you to provide that kind of payment. Now, some companies don't, and that's fine. I suggest their employees find a better employer, but that's a whole different discussion.
yes, it is. That is amazing. And it's so crazy, Charles. A lot of people do not know that. It's so many ins and outs when it comes to knowing the different rules and regulations when it comes to taxes and having the IRS. That's why it's so important to have experts and CPAs like yourself for people to help them to be a lot more knowledgeable on how to do these things, especially small business owners, because a lot of them are going into it not knowing a clue and they're at square one.
Absolutely. In most cases, our services are effectively free to our clients. We save them more than they spend with us. So we're not a cost center,
Wow.
we're a profit center.
Oh, wow. That is amazing, Charles. That God bless you for that. So what are your top 5 tips for avoiding employment tax penalties?
Well, we've been through them a couple of times already. Check your arithmetic,
Yes, we have.
make your deposits correctly, make them for the right amount, make them on time, file the right reports, and file them on time. Those 5 things eliminate about 95% of the penalties. Now, understand the IRS makes millions of mistakes every year. You've got
Yes.
100,000 you've got 100,000 civil servants that are not operating on a profit motive. They're putting in their time. They're not bad people for the most part. They're mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters. They try to do a good job for the most part. There's a few bad apples, but every business has them. But
Yes.
they're underfunded. They're undertrained. They get transferred to new departments. Uh, they go home at 4:30. They don't stick around like a business owner until the wee dark hours of the night getting things done. Uh, And in many cases, the technology they're dealing with sometimes goes back to the 1960s. So they've got their own problems.
Mm.
They've tried to revamp their systems over and over. Here, 15 years ago, they spent several $billions and finally gave up. But they keep working at it, and hopefully someday it'll get there. But in 19, before COVID, they issued $13 billion of employment tax penalties. A whole bunch of them, probably 40% of them, got
Mm.
abated because they were in
Yeah.
error.
Wow. And this is before COVID in 2019?
Yeah, it's the numbers vary. It goes every year, but it's in the billions of dollars every year.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So why do PEOs, professional employer organizations, often fall short for businesses, in your opinion?
PEOs are the most profitable portion of our competitors' business. They make more money off of those than they make off of any other portion of doing payroll because they overcharge. They sell you a Cadillac insurance program
Time.
when you may want to be buying a Ford or a Volkswagen. Uh, they charge you a percentage of the payroll. And when you have to quit paying taxes as you uh, go over the limit for unemployment taxes in your state, they don't cut their percentage. Uh, it's very, very expensive.
Mm.
I've never seen a situation where we can't go in to a company that has a PEO and get them everything they want and save them at least $1,000 per year per employee.
Wow.
Nobody buys
Wow.
nobody buys a PEO. They get sold a
So,
PEO.
man, that's crazy.
I
So,
agree. Remember, the PEO industry started as a staff leasing, which
yeah.
was basically a fraudulent operation to shift tax burdens fraudulently. That's where the industry started.
Mm,
And after a number of people went to jail, they decided to
yeah.
rebrand themselves as PEO instead of staff leasing because staff leasing, you type in staff leasing, it all comes up fraud. So, yeah, that's the
Oh,
background of
okay.
PEO.
Okay. So you've grown like your business from 1,000 to seven figures. So what were the key strategies that contributed to this success?
Well, two things. First of all, we take care of our clients. We bend over backwards for our clients. That's just how I was raised, my family business. That's how I believe. Uh, the client's always right until you fire them, but you do whatever is necessary. It goes back to Marine Corps training, mission, men, self. You accomplish the mission first, foremost, regardless, whatever it takes. And our mission is to provide a perfect payroll every time. And we work very, very hard at that. And if we screw up, we work very hard at fixing it. Then you take care of your people, and then you take care of yourself as a businessman. So we work very hard at making sure our payroll's right all the time. Excuse me, and our employees are taken care of. So that's the first thing to grow a business because our clients are happy and word of mouth. The next thing is marketing. And frankly, I thought I could market. So I marketed for many years. And as an entrepreneur, you wear all the hats, and you can see what that's done to my head. And you start handing these hats off as you get people that can do things. And I finally handed off the marketing hat, and I hired a marketing manager. And after 2 weeks, I realized I couldn't market my way out of a paper bag. What she was doing was incredible compared to me. So we've grown very well since I got somebody else to do the marketing.
It be like that sometimes. so so how does the grit play a role in the success of both individuals and businesses?
Bill Gates puts it very well. People will overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. So you just have to stick to it. You have to keep after it, step after step, day after day, month after month, year after year, and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. Uh, you're, for your listeners, you're not going to be a unicorn. You're not going to be Bill Gates. You're not going to be Elon Musk, but you can make a very nice living and grow a very nice business by keeping at it. So do so.
Wow. So when you get small businesses come in, say for instance, their gross started off at 50K. And then next thing you know, as you're helping them with their taxes and everything every year, next thing you know, they reach 200 almost 300K. What strategies and financial advice and financial help would you give them so they could not also, continue to build and make more money, but also learn how to utilize their money as a financial advisor or leadership skills for them to be able to build wealth and live long as far as, not working all their lives?
Well, it's important to invest rather than spend. Uh, you know, compound interest is the uh, most powerful thing in the universe in
Yeah.
reality. So Einstein was a big proponent of it. So invest early and invest often. Invest in your business. Invest outside of your business. Uh, Build a building, don't rent. Buy equipment, don't lease. There's a lot of things you can do that can be valuable over time as opposed to today. Um, I built my own building. We recently sold it. It was paid for and sold well into seven figures. And that was an investment over 25 years and paid off immensely. If I'd paid rent for 25 years, when I moved out, I'd have gotten nothing. So uh, there's other things. And
Right.
there's a lot of specialty things you can do. Talk to your CPA. One of the things we do for business owners that own a building is we can set that up in a separate corporation. We can hire the owner to manage the building in that separate corporation, and he's the only employee. And then we can take everything we pay him and put it away pre-tax into a retirement program under a defined benefit program. So we can pay him $30,000 a year and invest every penny of it and not pay any tax on it into a defined benefit plan. And he'll only pay taxes on it at a lower rate in the far future when he takes it out and spends it. So there's a lot of things you can do. Talk to your CPA, talk to your financial advisor. Everybody's circumstances are different. And I can't give you, you know,
Yeah.
a million things, something that works for everybody because it doesn't. That's why there are financial advisors, and you need to find one that you're comfortable with. I have one who manages my portfolio on a day to day basis because being a CPA, uh, I can't follow the market. Even though I'm a security, I know security analysis. I used to be a registered rep and an investment advisor, and have all the credentials and Series 7 and 66 licenses and so on. But I can't do that and run a payroll company effectively. I can't do both. So I hire an investment manager to manage my portfolio. So find somebody you can deal with, somebody you're happy with. He's not the first one I hired. He's the last one. So, try one, and if he works, great. If he doesn't, find another one. Uh, it's it's you're almost marrying them. So it should be somebody you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
You don't want too many divorces. So
No,
they're expensive. Uh,
very.
so uh, yeah, find a financial advisor and work with him. But it's basically invest for the long term, and you'll be amazed over time at what can happen.
Wow. So why is outsourcing payroll a smart move for many businesses, and what are their top benefits?
Well, first of all, you get somebody that's on top of the law and can advise you. We communicate with our clients at a minimum monthly about things that are going on, so they're up to speed on it. But they can come to us and ask any question, and our job is to be on top of this stuff, and we are. Whether it be 45S or the most recent rulings on 1099ers or whatever, that's our job, and we're on top of it. We have very sophisticated software to do all the payroll calculations, deductions, taxes, filings, and so on. So our clients don't have to even think about it. They just tell us, okay, Joe worked
Mm-hmm.
40 hours, pay him. We handle everything else. We guarantee all the deposits are made properly. We guarantee all the forms are filed properly and on time. They don't have to worry about it. If we screw up, and I'd like to say we're perfect, but we're not. If we screw up, we take care of it. That's our guarantee. Privacy. You don't have stuff sitting around. Your reports can be electronic. They're passworded. They're secured. They're encrypted. Only you can look at them. They're not just laying around for people to look at. Fraud. Every time you issue a payroll check on your account, you're inviting fraud. Payroll fraud, check fraud is a huge crime in this country. So every time you issue a check, you're putting all the information out there for somebody to try and defraud you. We do the same thing, but we work with our banks very diligently. Our whole industry does, and we've got protections in place that you don't have the options of. So we do all of that to protect ourselves and our clients, and we haven't been defrauded in years. We've been hit a couple of times over the years, very frankly, and every time we do, it shows us a weakness that we have, and we go paper that over real quick. But we have never been hit with a big fraud, but we've gotten hit. I guess the last one was about 3 years ago. Uh, it was a operation out of Minnesota, supposedly an attorney, and everything checked out. But it
How?
was somebody using somebody else's information. So we now cross-check that, and if it's an attorney, we call and speak to the attorney. And we
Okay.
find that attorney through a different way. We look them up through the local law guide or the attorney's guide or whatever. We go a different route to the principal and verify. We've never had that happen again. So yeah, it doesn't happen often, but for us, but it happens in the industry all the time. We probably get hit once a week with people trying to commit fraud.
Mm.
So, it's those are some of the big reasons you want to outsource payroll. Plus the fact you don't need to have somebody, you don't need to train somebody, you don't have to have facilities, you don't have to have software, you don't have to have hardware, you don't incur the fraud, all these things. Plus the fact 40% of all small businesses get hit with a tax penalty every year. So if you weren't hit last year or the year before, you're due to get hit this year. Well, if you have us, we'll take care of it.
Mm. Wow. So, as someone with 50 years of experience, how has the payroll landscape changed and what trends do you foresee?
Wow. I mean, we used to do this stuff by hand, and then people would phone it in, and then they would fax it in. Well, now it's almost all electronic. We issue very few paychecks anymore. Most of it's all direct
Yeah.
deposit. It's all electronic, which is faster, safer, more secure, less subject to fraud, and allows us to charge less money in terms of what we do, and allows us to do more payroll with less people to keep our costs down for our clients. Technology has made huge uh, advances in what can be done and how fast it can be done and how accurately it can be done. Uh, and I expect technology to continue to move forward and make this easier, quicker, faster, uh, not simpler, but easier, quicker, and faster.
Yeah, it does. What advice would you give to new business owners to ensure they are tax compliant from the start?
Hire us.
Yes. So what is what is a piece of advice you wish you had received when starting out in your career?
As a business person dealing with clients, what I learned along the way, and I believe in it immensely, and it's how we do our business. There's never a traffic jam on the extra mile. Go the extra mile for your clients, go the extra mile for your employees, because your competitors won't. And you will stand out, and it will lead to success.
Man, that's serious right there, Charles. That is the truth. And
Yep.
I just love how like so genuine and passionate you are with it. For you to be in business for so long, and I know you've been through a lot of triumph through you owning a business, and you've dealt with so many personalities. It's just good to see that you're still in good spirits and you didn't let different things change who you are.
Yeah, there have been days and weeks and months, and uh, yeah, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and there will be adversity, and there will be hard times, and there will be troubles, and there will be difficulties, and that's part of business.
Yes.
And that's why not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Uh, if you can't handle that kind of stress, go to work for the government. Nice, easy job, 40 hours a week, 30 days vacation, retirement in 30 years. But if you want to run your own life, it's nothing like being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, definitely. It builds you to either have tough skin or it's going to build you to break you. And if you're giving up, listen, you're giving up the wrong thing. You got to keep pushing forward because each lesson can become a blessing.
Absolutely. That's, people tell me I have wisdom, and I think I disagree. I've got experience. I've been, I know how hot the stove is. I don't touch it anymore. So I learned.
So where can my listeners find your book, the payroll book, and learn more about your services at Get Payroll?
Well, for the book, I'm going to make you a deal. If your listeners will go to thepayrollbook.com, enter the discount code podcast, we will ship them free of charge a copy of the book as long as supplies last for your listeners.
All right. That is a deal, Charles.
And then
I hope they take advantage of it.
I hope so too. And they can find us at getpayroll.com. My email is cjr@getpayroll.com. And if they've got a quick question, 972-353-0000.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Charles. I really appreciate you. This was like so informative, and I pray that my listeners will gain so much knowledge for it and also reach out to you for your services. It's nothing like having the right CPA tax advisor for someone to actually do your business right so you won't have to pay for it in the long run.
I agree.
Yes. So thank you everyone for tuning in to Life Heard Podcast. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe on Life Heard Podcast on all platforms. And you can also listen to it on audio on all major platforms. Good night.
Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9 to 5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.